More medications, less health. Something's broken. Traditional medicine manages symptoms, but true healing addresses root cause. I'm Josh Rimini, pharmacist turned healer. At Beyond the Pills, we merge ancient wisdom with modern day science to inspire you through stories of transformation, practical trainings, and holistic healing. Join me and other practitioners as we guide you towards vibrant health, body, mind, and spirit, and move beyond symptom management into true healing. Welcome to this episode of Beyond the Pills, where we explore the deeper currents of healing, transformation, and alignment, body, mind, and spirit. I'm your host, Josh Rimini, pharmacist turned healer. And today we have an amazing guest who's not just a guide or a mentor for me. He's been a sacred part of my own journey to transformation. Jesse Warner. He's a meditation leader, an energetic activator, and a real dear friend. Really, he's part of my soul tribe. Our paths have crossed in Costa Rica at the beginning of my surrender journey. And since then, Jesse's been a really trusted ally and an anchor in the collective that's forming with us and the healing space that we're co-creating. And his awakening was just part of that rapid and was just undeniable for me. So through his own deep shadow work and connection to what he calls and what we call 5D consciousness, he now helps others access their higher selves and create extraordinary lives. He blends science and esotericism with energetic alchemy and ancient wisdom, which is why I love all this stuff, into his work, whether it's through his 9 light activation sequence or the Kuji mentorship programs, which we're going to dive into. In this conversation, we're going to explore that, the power of activation and surrender in the Kuji framework and its transformational potential, and my story, right? And what that means is to truly embody the 5D living, and how Jesse holds space for individuals to reclaim their soul's light and rise to their highest expression. This episode is a personal one for me, guys, and I can't wait to share Jesse's wisdom, presence, and guidance with all of you. Welcome to the show, Jesse. My friend.
Thank you, Josh. It's a real honor to be here with you today. This is really great.
It's bitter. It's not bittersweet. Like it's due time. Like we've had back and forth conversations for over a year now on our own transformational journeys, and you've been a really big part of that for me. So sharing this wisdom and these experiences with our listeners is so important for me. So I'm honored. And that's kind of where I want to start. Like, I'm honoring the moment we met in Costa Rica. Like, I knew something was just there. I didn't know what it was at the time, but let's talk about your shift, your surrender experiment, your journey of your awakening, right? Because this is what sparked it for you. You know, you're an acupuncturist. You go into these realms, and I think always starting with people's kind of their own story always helps me kind of get the flow moving.
For sure. Well, my awakening moment, there was a very defining moment, and I refer back to this quite often because it was so profound. I had been working as an acupuncturist, like you mentioned. I had a great practice, personal practice, professional practice, and there was a moment on a very specific day when something happened, and there was no logic to it, and it was a moment of, we'll say, an opening. There was an opening in my consciousness that almost instantly connected me to something that was higher than me, bigger than me, beyond me. And it actually manifested as visual distortions, light distortions in my field of vision. And the very third dimensional fear based programmed mind that I was really existing in at that time initially made me think there's something wrong. I'm having a stroke. I'm
Yeah.
seeing things like this is crazy. I'm not on psychedelics. I'm literally driving my car 2 minutes from my house on my way back from the grocery store. But I guess, when moments like that happen, it doesn't matter where you are. It just happens. And from that point forward, everything felt different. Everything was different. But just because I had this opening and this new connection didn't mean that I knew exactly what to do with it. And so my own journey and my own process to understanding my higher self, my higher consciousness, it all really kind of kickstarted that day. I think it became undeniable that I was on a different path from that point forward. But there were a lot of different steps and people and experiences that over the course of the last 5 or 6 years have really brought me to where I am today and brought me to a place where I can actually identify and see when those same moments of awakening are happening in other individuals, and then help prepare them, help guide them, help step them through.
Well, see, it's because you're classically trained as an acupuncturist, so you do have science and ancient wisdom already there with energy, right? It's an
Sure.
energy, meridians, and that's how I met you. I was like, oh, I get to hang out with an acupuncturist. He's going to work on me at the retreat center, and we're going to get some experience. But that download, that thing that came was like the connection with, let's just kind of like similar to what I would, when you said that, what came up for me was like when people have like near death experiences, like they have this
Mhm.
connection that's so much more real than the real that they see
Yeah.
and feel. And there's just something bigger than them that drives them down. It's like you're driving down the highway and you're all of a sudden you're like, figuratively going like pulling off the side of the road and going this way now, it's like, holy
Yeah.
crap, that this happened. So what,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit of, tell the listeners a little bit of like, what was that like? Right. Cause I think some people have maybe gotten that, but maybe they weren't attuned to it, an awakening. Maybe it was this conscious awakening, but it was like, oh, that happened, but then it's out of their field, right? It's out of their way. And it's like, was that like a calling for you to kind of move into the next thing? Because I want to get into how you got
Mhm.
into Fuji and everything, but what was that like for you?
And that's a really interesting question. As I'm reflecting on that to answer you, I would say that there was actually a period of time in which I forgot. I forgot about that big moment of
Right. Yep.
um and I don't know, it wasn't intentionally forgetting. It was almost like it was such a big activation and a big moment, but I wasn't necessarily ready to fully integrate into it or allow it to integrate into me, if that makes sense. And so there was a period of time where I remembered that it had happened, but I wasn't necessarily doing anything with it. Like initially, like I mentioned, there was fear. I was afraid. I thought something was wrong. And I had a few conversations with a couple of key like allies and people in my life who basically talked me down from this idea that I was
Mm.
about to have a stroke. And And it really just kind of became this thing that was in the background, I think. It was a frequency, a remembering, a moment that was kind of under the surface of my conscious mind, but it was the precursor to these moments of understanding, these very clear moments where it's like, I guess with that activation and that opening, I suddenly became more tuned in to hearing messages, receiving information, receiving guidance. And as I reflect back on all of this, it's pretty clear to me that that moment was a reactivation of my connection to my higher self. And from that point forward, my higher self was really like a partner with me. And if I was able to hear what my higher self was telling me or showing me or guiding me towards, then there would just be this moment where all of a sudden I would say, oh, here's an example. Several of my friends had kept telling me, hey, you should go see this healer and this teacher. She's absolutely amazing. I really think you would connect with her. And about a year went by and I didn't do anything. I didn't make any session, I didn't schedule anything with her, but it just kept popping up. And one day, I don't know, shortly before my 40th birthday, I had that moment where just this message came through and it's like, oh, now's the time. Now is when you're supposed to make the appointment with that person. And it felt so profound and so like powerful that I got on the phone with her that afternoon and was like, I'm supposed to come see you now. She's like, I've been waiting for you. So there were all these little like synchronicities and moments that started showing up. And it was just a matter of me noticing and then deciding when was the appropriate time to take action.
It's it it's in me, like we're always in such resonance when we talk back and forth and asynchronous, like we've got a Voxer chat going for a year now, and it's like you throw that out and I grab it in a certain way. And one of the things that came up to me exactly when you were talking was like when some people get this like awakening, it's this big event, like this thing that happened. And then for me, it's been this like micro doses of events. And then when we kind of went through our sequence together and we did Kuji, and we'll want to talk about that, like it's all like moving towards that. You called it the higher self. Sometimes I say like my alignment, like the alignment of who I'm really am, right? Who I'm going for. And we've had so many synchronistic like happenings over this past year because I can't make it up anymore,
Oh
and it's like,
no.
hey, when you're in alignment, these things happen. And for me, it's not like I don't hear the voices. And I want you to talk to people about the different, you know, clairvoyance and sentience and things, because I think we're all different humans and we get these downloads in different way. For me, it's like I can see things, like I can see what it's going to look like. And I get these thoughts that aren't really thoughts. They're just something that comes through, and it's like, I'm going to lean into that. And then it's like you're almost hearing the thought in a different way that's not like your chatter, right? That's not the thing that's happening. Because my example was um the one that I had this week, which is just like those things that just you think it, and then all of a sudden it like it we call it manifest, but it like all of a sudden it was like literally, when you think of somebody and then they text you like a minute later.
Totally. Yeah. Right.
Those are the frequency in which they're happening is just like rapid now. It's like so much different than like, oh, that happened to me years ago. Everyone has synchronicities in their life. And to me, it's like this Kuji and this activation of my own higher self, my own true self, I have a part in that where I keep leaning into the things that are serving me and are lifting me up and giving me high resonance, and moving away from the things that don't. But then all of a sudden there's that alignment of all the stuff that just kind of unfolds right in front of me.
Hmm.
Um, so let's dive into Kuji, but I want you to tell me not what it is, but how in the heck it found you.
Mm. Well, that ties back into the story that I was just telling about finding that teacher, that specific teacher. So I started working with Annette right about at my just before my 40th birthday, and we spent a year really focusing more on energy balancing within my own body and field, um, some deeper meditation training and mentoring. And when we had these in-person sessions, these healing sessions, she would incorporate sound frequencies, and during the sound frequencies I would drop into a meditation, and that meditation would always provide me some sort of like vision or insights or understandings. And that work continued for about a year. And there was one session when we had wrapped up, and she said, "Okay, this is what I'm getting. This is what I understand. We've done the work to open your heart. Your heart is ready now. And because of that, it means you're ready to move on to the next level of your like training, so to speak, with me." And she started explaining the practice of Kuji, which Kuji is an ancient and esoteric Buddhist practice. And it's not a mainstream practice. It's actually coming from a couple of smaller Buddhist sects in Japan. But the foundation is one of activation of your own energy in a way that uh, ascends energy. It's an up leveling of your own energy and your own consciousness through this daily practice of Kuji-Kiri. So I was introduced to the idea from my teacher, and she kind of laid out the practice itself and some of the key philosophies and ideas. And when she finished, she looked at me and she said, "Does that all make sense to you?" And I said, "Yes, this all makes sense to me." And her response to that was, "You are the first person in all of my years of doing this kind of work that has said back to me, 'Yes, that all makes sense. I'm ready to go.'" It was just something that it was meant to happen. It was meant for me. I was meant for it. And I really do firmly believe that the Kuji practice is something that I've been working with for, we could say, many other lifetimes, or for a really long time outside of this reality that I'm currently dialed into. So that's where the Kuji practice began and evolved, was with that teacher who I had just suddenly, that light bulb moment of, oh, I'm supposed to go work with her now. And then doing the precursor work leading up to like kind of being prepared and ready for all of this new knowledge, information, we could call it training, um, of the Kuji.
Well, two big things like when you just went there was one, I love the stories of like when the student is ready, the teacher just
Hmm.
appears, right?
Yes.
And then you
Yes.
did that, you're like, but what blew me away is we actually never talked about this yet, but like when I went through my journey in Peru, right
Hmm.
after we met in last May, a year ago, and in Consmania in the retreat center in Costa Rica. I went to Peru, and I sat with the healers there and did my ceremonies with plant medicines and ayahuasca. And but like my whole journey was about that, what your teacher said was like going from my head and opening my heart. And so it was kind of so, because when I re-engaged you was like, all right, I think I'm ready to learn what this Kuji stuff's all about. Like, but we never went to the place of like your heart is open and now you're ready. Like it was just
Mm,
I was ready. And it was like that perfect time where, because we had met and it had been like months, and all of a sudden it was just like I had that same feeling. Like maybe it's the Kuji magic or something, because I still remember when I reached out to you and it felt just like that. Like it was the right time. And I still remember you're like, yeah, I was thinking about you too. Like we gotta like connect and figure this stuff out. And that's when I engaged in the 10-week program with you to go through that
mm,
process. And it was like, but now that you said it the way you were ready, it was like exactly kind of how I was ready. It was like I had gone through some stuff. I had done my own work, but it was like now it just unfolded. It was like you appeared again in this way that allowed me to go through that. Um, I want to go through this now. Like, talk to people about Kuji and the 9 light activation. And I want to pepper in my experience as you talk through this, because I think I have a unique perspective on it as well, from
mm.
like my experience through it, not just the teacher teaching these things and these mantras. And so tell people a little bit about like the overview, and then I want to bring them through kind of that experience that we've shared, as these energy centers are being activated.
Mhm. Well, okay. Well, first, I'm just going to add to something real quick, and I'm going to say that when like how my teacher said, like, "Oh, I've been waiting for you." After you and I met, I knew it was just a matter of time. I knew that the first step for you was going to be Peru. And I knew that that was going to be this really like potent time of transformation for you and activation in many different regards, and that it was going to be after that that you would be ready to incorporate this practice in. And clearly, like, I had already planted the seed, right? Because you and I had met at the retreat center at Consmania. We had done some one-on work together. And so it was already resonating within me, within my awareness, that you and I would just at some point be landing into this practice together. So it was really exciting when that did happen a couple of months later, right? Like when you were ready, when everything was primed. And yeah, so to kind of dive into the Kuji practice, and I'll say, okay, so we have Kuji-Kiri, we have Kuji-In. Those are two basically of the same thing. Kuji-Kiri is a lengthier practice. If you really want to study the Kuji-Kiri, then you're committing to at least like a 5.5 month or 6 month practice. And Kuji-In is the foundational principles that we use within the Kuji-Kiri. So when I initiated into this practice, I was in it like for 6 months for the core of it. And then I chose to expand my work and continue on. And so I was really working with those energies for about a year consistently every single day within this practice, and following all of the steps. When I completed that practice, it was as if certain magic powers that I had forgotten I had, or that maybe I just didn't have access to. It was like they all started coming back online. The primary one that really stood out was my ability to just download these messages and information for people. And it all seems to be guided by the higher self connection. And so in my acupuncture practice, I also started noticing I use a lot of different kinds of energy work. And I started to realize that the combinations of modalities that I had used in the past, people were like, they were leaving sessions literally like in an almost an altered state, because the energy that was flowing through in the sessions after I finished the Kuji was so much more powerful and potent that it was like uh yeah, it was taking people a little bit of time to recalibrate to that power, to that potency that was coming through energetically. So um I worked with the Kuji for a couple of years, a daily practice, and the key components are very specific and sacred mantras, Sanskrit mantras. Sanskrit is an ancient language. It is said to be the the words that are used in Sanskrit are said to have very divine frequencies. And so we have mantras, we have mudras, which are hand positions, hand gestures. We have a period of meditation that is really focused on key themes and ideas and concepts as we progress through the sequence. And I worked with that just for myself for a couple of years before I decided that I wanted to. It wasn't even deciding; it was another one of these messages of like, I've activated something really potent and powerful within myself. I've experienced the results of that empowerment, of that activation, and now it's time to start sharing it with others. And so initially, the first couple of clients that I presented this idea to of doing the Kuji work, we started with the full like 5.5 month commitment. And basically what that means is every 2 weeks, we're working with a specific mantra, a specific mudra, a specific symbol, a specific theme for 2 weeks in a row. And it's great. It gives a lot of time to really sink into the practice and all of the things that are coming forward within it. But what I was also realizing is that some of the other people who seemed interested in the idea, they weren't really too keen on the idea of committing to like 5.5 or 6 months of work.
Right.
And so I started thinking to myself, well, you can learn these concepts and these mantras and mudras and the meditation. You can learn them, and you can use them and get some sort of empowerment from them. And so I started thinking, well, what if we just go like half the time? What if we take a 20-week, experience and take it down to 10 weeks? And instead of working with each one of these themes, these weekly or these bi-weekly themes, maybe we just do it on a weekly. So you were one of the first people actually that I asked to kind of like work with this fast track. That's kind of what I think of it as. It's like a fast track. And because there are 9 different activations, I called it the 9 light activation, because we're activating high frequency light ultimately. And sure enough, the results and the outcomes as you were working through that practice, even though you were going at twice the speed that I did, all of the same things were happening. And I was witnessing all of the same stuff happening in you that happened in me. The epiphanies, the aha moments, the themes, they all still came to you in half the time. And it was really kind of like a pivotal moment, because I realized that there was an opportunity to broaden the appeal, broaden the market, that this kind of practice would appeal to, because we were able to take it down in time investment.
Yeah, well, still remember that conversation because you were talking as like this 22-week program. You got to be like pretty. And I was at the point in my life where everything was just like unfolding in ways that it was like just stuff was happening. And you're like, well, why don't we try it this way? And I was like, that's manageable. And it gave me this structure. And I remember, and for just for people's sake, right? It is, there's science in this too. Like you and I talk on both levels. Like this is ancient, right? This is like ninja magic ancient. Like people
Yeah.
don't know that. And that was kind of fun for me, like to lean in, like, whoa, really? Like this is what we did. But really what it is it's activating energy that's non-local, right? It's everywhere. And the words from the mantra in these Sanskrit ways are activating frequency energy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also, I learned this in my shamanic training and experiences, like a lot of energy work has to do with intention, ethics
Definitely.
and intention. So it's not like you just say the words and then you go on your day and you do a little hand symbol and you know, you like, you don't, I always leaned into this one. I just like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I don't have any expectation of what's going to happen. But what, and then I allowed it to unfold. And then we were in a one-on-one mentorship. So it was like I had a free flowing conversation asynchronously with you back and
Mm.
forth because as things came up, I would just comment on them like, hey, what's, you know, I didn't ask you what it was. We would just be like, this is what's happening. And what I love about Kuji is it's got that ancient wisdom. It's got that, you know, this has been done forever thing. And it also has this modern flair to it. Says we're actually activating the grid, the matrix, the quantum. Like this is what the ancients knew that we're already applying to quantum realities today. So for me, ancient wisdom, modern science, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
What the concepts, you know, this is why I can't make this stuff, right? I literally bought a book that was bought by Richard Rudd, who does the Gene Keys, which is really cool. I love the Gene Keys, but the book was on contemplation. Like, and I had started learning about, it's a short read, but it was a learning about contemplation as a form of meditation. And here we are. It just unfolded in the same week, like understanding the the elements of each sequence week by week, where there's this contemplative piece to it where you're literally sitting with these themes and these cores moving you up each by week. So it was like for me, and I found out in my gene keys this week that my IQ thread is through contemplation. Like, so I was perfect. Like my mind goes internal. So the meditations at the end of the sequencing after the mantras and the mudras where you just sit and you contemplate. Contemplation is very different than thinking, right? It's like I just sat with a word. I remember these. Like I still do them because I activate this sequence all the time. Is it was such a perfect meditative practice for me, but then I also learned like, holy crap, like this is you, Josh. You're always in this contemplative state, but now I had these specific activation of the energy, and then it moved me into that contemplative Buddhist level sitting with things rather than trying to clear my mind. I wasn't ruminating, but it was a perfect balance for me. And I feel like that's why things got activated, because it was this match between my thought and energy and then what the energy was that was being activated out in the grid.
Mhm.
So I still like so grateful for just being aware and being, introduced to these things, because that whole process, week by week, day by day, literally did what it like what it was, but also at the same time it allowed me to sit in a space with myself about ascending up,
Mhm.
from, and these are matching the nine chakras in the system. Some people think there's, seven or eight, and like there's this ninth within this practice. Some people think there's 13, but like for here, it's like you move up week by week and you go in and you release all the expectations and you just allow this stuff to unfold, not with faith. It was just like, I'm saying these words, they're powerful. There would be some times where I'd be in the mantra and I'd be like, holy crap, something just came up for me. But most of the time it was just like, I got lost in the word. Like I didn't even know it was happening. And then all of a sudden I'd sit there, and it's been so powerful for me.
Mm.
In this, and then of course, within the concepts is also the things that unfold within the concepts that they teach you, that these folks have been teaching forever. And it literally happens. It is magic. Like my wife, like I kid with her now. It's like, me, we talk all the time. It's like, that just happened. That just happened. Like all these things. So it's like, yeah, it's almost like I can actually, not consciously, but like magic is happening all over the place for me. It's like this
Mm.
beautiful voyage now. So this has been a big, big part of that.
I love that. I think there's, to piggyback off of some of the things that you were just mentioning, the practice itself is kind of like designed to take us from energy, concepts, emotions, ideas that are rooted in more like um, primal concepts, primal ideas, and working our way up into a field that is more heart centered, and then working our way up into zones of communication, and then eventually up into the higher realms of consciousness that we all can access. And so it's very much a practice of going from okay, here I am as a human, all the way up to okay, here I am as this consciously awakened multidimensional being. And it happens in what may seem to be well, it's happening in a way that is very methodical, whether we realize it or not. And the work that we do within each week, because we're sitting every day with these mantras and these mudras and these concepts and these energies, they become a part of what I call our personal quantum field. Because anytime that we're speaking or thinking or acting, we're generating energy and frequencies that we're kind of broadcasting out into the universe. And our personal quantum field is like our broadcast frequency. And whatever we're broadcasting, somewhere, somehow, it shows up in our reality as kind of like a mirror back to us. And so the concepts and the ideas and the theories that we're working on each week inevitably will show up in your reality as you go through this practice, as as teaching moments, as aha moments, as a moment of to reflect and to contemplate. Contemplation is big, I think, in many meditative practices, or in any practice when you're trying to connect with yourself on a different level. There's got to be contemplation, um, because it's through contemplation that we understand things in new ways. So you were just, when you went through the practice, you just experienced all the things that I was expecting and hoping you would experience, and it was really exciting to witness that firsthand and to be a part of it. Um, I think that there's a great benefit in collaboration. Whenever we're tapping into ancient knowledge, um, it's not something that we typically learn on our own. Um, there's usually a teacher or a guide, and through that through that collaboration, there's all of this potential for synergy through conversation, through ideas, um, through the contemplation that we share with one another.
Yeah, and for sure. We've had so many conversations about this. Like, it also aligns and brings, like, you know, yeah, like they're like these practices are all like they're wisdom, like the wisdom keepers, right? We're here to like bring these things forward. And now that, and just like in the shamanistic world, from where I've learned in these other things as well, is the Westerners, you, me, people that grow up in the United States, like we're being introduced to these ancient practices because, similar to your teacher, like everyone that I've been moving through in the shamanistic world and this world is like, we've been waiting for you. Like that's
Mm.
their answer. It's like you're now ready to bring this to the new light, right? This new way. Because I could spin everything we're talking about from an ancient wisdom side and now a quantum like
Hmm.
track. Like when we talk about light activation in the grid, it's like we're talking quantum physics, we're talking
Definitely.
realities, we're talking, you know, all of these things. And so we can put our Westworld analytical science brain on it, but we can't analytically manifest what happens in the energetic world, right? The analytical's out. And so for me, that's always been my life's work is to get out of here and into here and connect. And so this was a really easy practice for me because you just you go through the ritual, you go through the motion, you do it. You of course, like you got to put your time and priority on it, but it gave me my time. That's where I did my self-care work. It was like during that moment, and then over the time frame, by the end of the sequence, it was like very naturalized for me where I had, I'm sending you pictures. Like now I have my like travel meditation kit. Like it's like my little mesa, and I bring it with me, and it's got my rocks and it's got everything that like it just built over time. And now I can, everywhere I travel, I take it with me, and it's this little kit. And it's like I got everything I need to do my own spiritual awakening practice.
Mhm.
And so it tell us a little bit about like the what you do with people when they like, hey, if this, yeah, actually before that, I want you to tell me in your words who this is for and who this isn't for.
Okay, so the nine light activation is really ideally for individuals who are feeling called to deepen their spiritual practice, their meditation practice, deepen their understanding of self, and to people who want to activate more physical power, energetic power, mental power, and for people who want to reach higher levels of consciousness, and have that all be self-driven. So, somebody who has some level of experience, perhaps in meditation or some of the basic concepts of higher self, spirituality, those types of things. And really the nine light activation is for people who are ready to step into like the next level of who they are and how they choose to create their reality, because ultimately the end result of this activation sequence is reestablishing yourself as the primary creator of the way that your reality shows up and fully stepping into that. The Kuji practice is
Hold on,
very,
hold on. That was the nugget that I didn't know I needed, but that was the one you said.
which one?
Because as you went through that, the way I felt it and heard it, one, your perfect client is me, right? Is like where I was in my journey. Is like you got an awakening part in your life, right? For me, I call it like the second mountain of life. You've gotten all the outside world stuff, things aren't right, you go inward, and then you go inward and you do some work, whether it's a retreat or meditation, you go to whatever it is, right? I had gone to a bunch of Dispenza retreats and really worked on myself and read a lot of books. And there was this period of time where it was like, now I know that there's something bigger than me that isn't happening to me. There's a part that I know that I need to not figure out, but like learn that I'm a deep part of my own reality experience.
Mhm.
I learned that through my books and the Dispenza work and all the things that I had done, but interacting with it and being
Yeah.
like the co-creator,
Yeah.
that knowing, like I knew it like analytically, but I didn't feel it. I didn't experience it. And I feel like that's what the end result is. And when you said that, it was like, yes, that's it. It's like you are the creator of
Yep.
your own experience, not like, oh, you're just going to go push and you want to do it. So you go that way. It's like, no, the universe has half of the creation for you and you have the other half. And how do you two like, how do we, how do we interact with that where I'm in the driver's seat, but I'm also not, right? At the
Mhm.
same
Mhm.
time, like the unfolding in ways, because I don't really care when and how it happens, but it happens. And it happens in these really awesome ways that I would have never thought of, but it's exactly what I knew was gonna happen?
Mhm. There's a big difference in somebody telling you or teaching you something, right? Like if I were to stand up in front of a bunch of people and walk you through week by week by week, and say this is what's going to happen or this is what should happen, that's totally different than actually like doing it yourself, going through the experience yourself. And so a guide can give you insights and give you personal knowledge and information, but the act of doing it for our own self is really, I think, where the real, like the bulk of the magic happens. It's because you're not doing anything because somebody, like, it's
You didn't
like,
learn it from a book.
right, like
Yeah.
you've got the key and you're the one putting it into the lock and turning it and opening that door all by yourself through a very ancient practice and set of wisdom. Um and and it's just so fascinating to me how, first of all, more and more of the ancient wisdom is coming to the forefront in our modern era, because because we're realizing that it was far more advanced than we
Yeah.
have had that than we've thought it is. And that the ancient cultures and societies were very well tuned into frequency, energy, quantum, uh, and what is beyond this 3D reality that shows up for us. But this these ancient practices, these keys that enable us to unlock these doorways, they are they're so powerful right now because there is a shift that's happening within the collective human experience that is taking us away from this very like methodical, planned out series of events of how we live our life. It's changing, it's evolving, and it's shifting, and regaining some of our uh I'll say the memory of everything ancient. It's like everything is coming full circle,
Yeah.
and it's coming
100%.
full circle in a way that blends modern science and technology with ancient esoteric wisdom. Like the two fields are now starting to really, like, we can see them coming together. So I just think it's really fascinating, and this was the practice that really like resonated with me the most out of everything that I've worked with and tried.
Well, it's awesome because I think that's why we're connected because you know, there's an esoteric component, there's an ancient component, there's a modern day science component to this. And I had studied all that modern day science stuff. When you met me, it was like all up here. Like I was just like,
Mm.
there's something more. I got to figure it out. And what you said really resonated with me is like a lot of people think like the indigenous, this is why I love studying ancient wisdom and indigenous cultures and practices all over the world because in reality is we got out of here because all this energetic stuff does not happen in the brain, right? We have thoughts and we have these, but the intellect doesn't attune to energy. It's our intuition. It's where we sit with our hearts, right? And so that's when your teacher said your heart is now open, you're ready, because the science supports that too.
Mm.
What you said was like exactly what I feel and what I believe is truth as well. Is like the ancients, they weren't primitive. They were literally tuned to all of it. But when we got into the age of information and we got into you know, the industrial age, and all of a sudden we sort of forgot where we came from. And that's why when you said full circle, that's what I believe too. It's like we're moving back to this age and we're using these modern tools to get us there, but we're also using things like AI, so in which is creating its own consciousness right now. And but we're not going to get into that rabbit hole. It's another conversation. But what we're using these tools for in modern days to give us time, I believe, for humans, for humanity to get back in touch with that so we can open our awareness and our consciousness into these other realms because we can't do it with our analytical mind. And what you said is beautiful is we have to learn this through experience. This is why you and I are doing more retreats together. We're bringing people through these processes. Why I'm teaching 90-day programming and things like that is to teach people the wisdom through our own experience, but so they can experience and become it. Not, when nobody needs another like 6 week online distance based chewed up in tiny little pieces course, right? This is a course on humanity, and the only way to do that is to literally walk through it, which
Yeah.
is exactly what I did. And, it's this, right? Everything is a bump in a road. Like there were days it was like super crazy and we've been talking through like what the hell is happening. And then it's like and then we'd be in like then things would settle down and be like back into the space. And then all of a sudden it's like, you wouldn't believe what happened here today. Like, this is what's happening for me, to me, through me. I don't know why or how, but it's happening,
Yeah. Yeah.
which makes it fun, right? This is where the smiles come,
Totally.
because you can't make it up. Like, it's just like it keeps happening. And I believe it's kind of like anything. Like, once you're aware, you cannot be unaware. So once you
For sure.
activate these sequences and they happen to you, for you, it's like you have to keep doing the practice and the ritual, but there's it's also like it becomes part of, like, that's why it's an activation. It's like you're lighting up the candle,
Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
instead of like, oh, you're just going there to play the game today, and then tomorrow it's not going to be like that, right? So it's this open awareness that I have now with this whole process that helps me, you know, takes the highs and the lows, and makes, and I've also learned through this process too that, like, I can sit with the lows a lot easier now. They're very
Hmm.
challenging for me because I know that it's part of this whole process. And so this was just another tool for that for me. Um yeah,
Yeah.
where you go now?
Well, I just think that uh, there are these practices, and they're ancient, they're modern, they're all of them. There's so much opportunity for us as individuals to understand that we can change our own frequency and consciousness. And when we choose to do that, and we initiate the activation, and we initiate the up leveling of energy and consciousness, it leads us to a place, it leads us to a version of our life that, again, I realize now that I'm the creator of my reality. And so then it becomes something simple, which is like, well, what do I want to create? And then it starts making me think. I talk a lot about my higher self dream life. It's like my higher self is essentially the version of me that's living the very best life possible that's available to me. And when we're talking about contemplation, it's like, okay, well, when I contemplate, what does that look like? I start getting a clearer vision of what it is that I actually truly desire and want. And because I've worked through these steps of empowerment, and because I have activated these energies and these knowings and this information and these codes within me, actually, like, manifesting that dream life comes a whole lot faster now. Um, and in a very short amount of time, I settled into what I would consider to be a pretty dreamy life. And that was all by choice. And it was through the understanding that I'm the creator. I am the creator.
Yeah. And the thing is, we always put the and in now, right? And there's some universal destiny that we have, right? Like, it's kind of like moving the boxes. It's like, well, if you don't like where you're going, you can go over here and move into this box, and you can have your whole other reality if you really wanted to. And that's where I think we're starting to understand this from a science perspective. But like, there's also this thing where it's like, once you're in alignment, like, that alignment for me is so big. It's like that full authenticity of
Hmm.
me, where I've shedded the shadows, and I've shedded this former selves that were wounded, and I'm going all in on the things that light me up and give me purpose and resonance, and I'm clear on that. Then it becomes that same thing where it all unfolds. It just unfolds. It's like at the end of the day, we all know that everything works out. But when we're stuck in our present moment, freaking out, like, oh my God, today is crazy. It's like, okay, Josh, a month from now, this ain't going to be that big of a deal, right? Selling my pharmacy was a big deal. And it's
Mm,
2 months now, and it's like, it's not that big of a deal now. Everybody kind of, we knew they figure it out. And now you're in your perfect zone of doing all the things you get to do now. So
absolutely.
where do people learn more? Where do they connect with you? You've got a website, Jake
Hmm.
Warner Activations.
Yep. Yeah. So
You're running cohorts now, right? You're not just doing one-on-ones. You're running cohorts.
correct. Yes. So, in the since leaving the US, I live year round in Costa Rica. So when I left the US, I left my brick and mortar practice behind, and I really shifted into more of these mentorship options, and working in virtual platforms, working for longer periods of time, diving in really deep. And and so uh, I've developed a number of different program options that meet people where they are at. So the nine light activation is kind of like the middle road. It's for somebody who's, a little bit spiritually awakened and ready to really like step into a new level of who they are. But if somebody is not quite there yet and not ready yet, but all of this is really like piquing their interest, um, the 10-week higher self integration, activation and integration uh, mentorship that I've been working with a number of clients is a really great starting off point, because we have the opportunity in those 10 weeks to kind of like I think of it as like sweeping off the the stuff that we don't really need to be carrying in within us anymore. And so
Decluttering the cobwebs. That's how I look at it.
that's a great, yeah, I love that. And it's really like an opportunity to kind of prime yourself for some of these new mindsets and these new awarenesses. And on the other end of the spectrum, the full Kuji mentorship, that's a 22-week initial commitment, and that's for somebody who's really dedicated to um, their practice, their connection to their self, their connection to source, their connection to all of this high frequency information and energy. And so those are kind of like the core of the mentorship programs. The nine light activation, I've been working one on one with people, with my clients. Typically, the majority of the clients that I'm working with are successful entrepreneurs who are usually going through some sort of like kind of big life transformation. And it feels a little bit like they don't have full control or full like power over what's coming next. And so the nine light activation is really beneficial in reconnecting with yourself and your power, and what you want the future to be. So this idea has kind of been in my mind for a while, of doing a cohort for the nine light activation. I think because there's so much synergy in the back and the forth, right, in the conversation, and the insights that you get working with other people. I think there's a great opportunity there to bring a group together to go through the sequence as as one unit, but everybody doing it individually. So the very first cohort will actually start. We're recording this in the second week of June. It'll be the last weekend of June 2025 that first cohort launches, and so it'll be open to up to 9 people. And from there, The next cohort will probably be starting about a month after that. So if you missed the cutoff for the first one, there will be certainly opportunities to do that cohort um, in the future. The one-on-one work is always an option, and that can be for any of the mentorships that I'm offering at the moment.
Yeah.
And I'll just add to all of that real quick and just say, like, jwarneractivations.com really has everything that you need in terms of learning about the programs, learning about me more, learning about everything that I'm offering. Some testimonials are on there. And then there's also links to my social media, so to my YouTube page and to my Instagram. And then there's also opportunity to just directly contact me through WhatsApp or through email. So it's super easy. It's all at jwarneractivations.com.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's a beautiful website, and it is really clear. And I think there's benefits to both, like going through it with a cohort and like experiencing it together, right? Like this whole philosophy of like, holy crap, look what's happening to all of us. And we're all in the same grid and we're all doing the same activation sequence together, which I think has some resonant power to it. And
For
then
sure.
I think the one-on-ones were just super, it gets super tight. It's like, oh my gosh, like we're in it together too. You still held me through that whole process, that space. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I always love this question because it's my favorite one. What's the one thing out of this conversation that you want people to know?
Ooh, that's a great one. Uh, the one thing that I think I would really like people to know in this conversation is that we can we can have it all, and we can have things however we want them to show up in our reality. We can get them to show up in our reality, in our life. And it's not actually that difficult, and it's not something that you have to really like work so hard for, even though it may seem like hard in certain moments. When we look back and reflect on everything that we've accomplished, and we realize like, oh, like that wasn't that hard. Creating this like amazing life for myself really wasn't that hard, and I wish I had known that a little bit sooner. And um and that through just some simple empowerments and mindset shifts and techniques, everything in life can change in just the course of a few weeks. That's all it actually takes. It doesn't have to be years and years and years. And I'll wrap up that answer using kind of like a client as an example. This particular individual had a multi-million dollar business that he had sold just recently, and he essentially like set himself up for a wonderful life of like retirement after doing so much work in the material world. And and when the job was gone, right, and he was just in himself, he had so much anxiety and so much fear and so much physical and emotional pain and disconnect that it was literally destroying his life. This life that like it should have been so great. Like, you're sitting on probably millions in the bank, and you've got this beautiful home and this beautiful wife and family, but but like inside, everything had crumbled. There was no identity anymore. There was no like, and that feeling of disconnect triggered so much anxiety that it was turning destructive. And And through like just the way that things happen, he was introduced to me by the right person at the right time, and we had the right conversation. And it became very clear to me that the nine light activation was going to be the thing that put him back in like the driver's seat of his own reality. And it was just phenomenal, because it was like by week 2, by the second week, he was already presenting himself as a completely different person, because just those first little bits of like power and confidence and connection, that was all that he needed to start tipping the scales into a very different way of feeling about himself and in his body and in his mind and in his energy. So I just wanted to share that too, because that it was really profound to witness that as well.
Yeah, and that I want to add that something, because that's exactly kind of the thought for me. Like the experience is, we're not really unlocking things that weren't there, right? We all have this innate ability to be our own creators, to live our full authentic self, to unlock the magic per se. It's like this sequencing, these things that we do unlock what our body, what our mind, what our spirit, what our souls already knew what it was there. It's like this, oh, again, and the awakening, but not in the mind. It's like it becomes what it's supposed to be in this beautiful way. It's almost like moving out of your shadow and you're moving right into your gifts.
Yeah.
It unlocks them. And then that's why I've just been so grateful, because life is good when you can work inside that space and you're not always over in that other part of worry and shadows and like the things that are going wrong. And oh my gosh, it's like those are the same things that teach you how to do your gifts. It's the very same thing. It just comes into that pureness, that beauty. So thank you, my friend. This has been amazing. I'm so glad we got to have this conversation so we could share to other people the magic we're creating together. And you and I both know we're here to work together in many capacities. This just feels like a really good one.
Oh yeah. Lots
Check out his
to plan in the
website.
future.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be doing retreats in Costa Rica, like blending what you do and what I do. Just gonna feel amazing, because we're gonna have the whole spectrum. It's gonna be so fun. I'm excited. So
Yeah.
check them out on the website. We got all the links here. This has been a beautiful conversation. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Josh.
All right, everybody. That's a wrap. Until next time, stay well. Thanks for joining me today on Beyond the Pills. If our mission to deprescribe 10 million unnecessary medications resonates with you, share this episode, subscribe, and leave a review. Whether you're a practitioner or someone ready to reclaim your health, visit rx2wellness.com for free resources to begin your journey. Together, let's go beyond the pills and co-create a world of vibrant health and true healing. Until next time, live better and stay well.